Hey guys, it's Midnight here, back for another video. Today I will be doing a review on the 2026 Thai BL Only Friends Dream On. Drama, directing, art, music, and dance majors are caught in a tangled web of competition, casual sex, and vulnerability. Jack is directing his ex Dean on stage in a role that Raffy wants. Dean tries to get Jack's younger brother Rome to block Raffy out of his life. Part of the stage production of Romeo and Juliet is Twa, who harbors feelings for starring actor and dancer Arnold. Going into the characters, you have Dean. He is Jack's ex-boyfriend. In the start of the episode, he is part of the drama club and he has starred in most of his ex plays before parting ways. Dean is rather manipulative and easily angered. Next, you have Jack. He is Dean's ex-boyfriend and the head of the drama club. He is also rather manipulative and a recovering alcoholic. Next is Arnold. He is a dance student but later joins the drama club to help Twa with Jack's Romeo and Romeo project. Next is Twa. He is a part of the drama club but as a costume designer. Before having a relationship with Arnold, he was dating Boston. He is also rather quiet and a people pleaser. Next is Rome. He is a part of the music club and is Jack's younger brother. He is a known playboy as he starts hooking up with Raffy. And last but not least is Raffy. He is part of the drama club. He has an infatuation with Jack, the head of the drama club and Dean's ex-boyfriend. He is a nepo baby as his mother is a well-known successful actress, and he starts hooking up with Rome, Jack's younger brother. Going into the plot/storyline, off rip, I don't understand people's need to constantly compare things. You can't, for the most part, not say that it's impossible because there were a lot of parallels to season 1. However, this season we were dealing with completely different characters and premise. Yes, this season wasn't as messy as the previous season. However, this season was messy in its own right. I also feel as though it was obvious that there wouldn't be any cross-couple hookups like there were in the previous season, which I do find weird that people were upset about that. And my only conclusion to this is that I don't think the other couples, I just don't think the actual actors themselves may not have been comfortable kissing other actors that of course they're not really familiar with. So I can pretty much kind of understand that. So that's just my thoughts on that. Going into Arnold and Twa's relationship, they were my second favorite couple in the show and the most innocent. It was nice seeing Twa, who is more on the quiet side, pursue someone like Arnold who is different than him. Of course, it sucked when Arnold found out about Twa hiring him for the play, and that's why he is the only person getting paid for it. However, I do feel like he was overreacting instead of actually listening to what Twa was actually saying. Realistically speaking, if I was Twa, I would have moved on simply because he went on to ignore Twa on the camping trip. I don't mind misunderstandings that lead to avoidance. In this situation, I don't like the fact that Twa already told Arnold what the situation was and that he didn't pity him and it was never really about the money. I also like the way that Arnold handled the misunderstanding with Dean, even though he should have told Twa in the end. I like how he constantly chased Twa and fought for him to understand the situation and to fix their relationship. Next is Dean and Jack's relationship. I hated them as a couple. This goes back to me saying that there are parallels to season 1 and this season because I thought it was so ironic that Jack was speaking with Mew, who took his cheating boyfriend back in the previous season. This leads me to my point that I feel like just like Mew and Top, where I felt like they shouldn't have ended up together, I really felt like Dean and Jack should not have either. They should not have ended up together because of the mess that they both caused to both Raffy and Rome and Arnold and Twa. Not to mention, it felt like Jack didn't grow to appreciate Dean. Even though they were separated for a year or so, he still didn't seem to appreciate Dean and just wanted to date him again for the sake of it. On the other hand, you had Dean, who was also obsessed with getting back with Jack and that he was willing on sabotaging Raffy as well. Similarly, you have Jack, who never learned to deal with the issues at hand and would rather use people, in this case Raffy, in order to get back at Dean. Note, he never paid any attention to Raffy until he saw Dean having fun now that they broke up and decided to engage in a tit for tat. Also, Dean was so full of shit when it came down to his apology to both Toa and Raffy. When it came down to Toa, I wouldn't have accepted that apology if I was Toa, because Dean should have taken into consideration the type of person Toa was. Like, how do you not know the type of person your friend is? Not to mention, he convinced Arnold not to tell Toa about the interaction that they had in the woods. Then he convinced Rome to delete the video off of Raffy's phone, sabotaging him and Raffy's relationship to save his ass. On the other hand, you have Raffy, who he said that he was the same as him when Raffy stood up and outed P for leaking the video of Arnold and Dean in the woods, stealing the money for the play and lying about him sleeping with Rome. Yet Dean was the same person who literally threw a tantrum because Jack needed Raffy to split the role with Dean because his mother was willing on sponsoring Jack's play. However, instead of letting Jack be the one to inform Raffy of this, he throws a tantrum and yells in front of everybody, reinforcing the narrative that Raffy is this spoiled nepo baby, when he was the one constantly landing roles in Jack's production because he was dating him. I also didn't like the fact that Jack never called out Dean's nasty behavior. Then you have Rome and Raffy's relationship. I love their relationship. Love is such an understatement. Honestly, they're my favorite couple in the entire show. And I know that Ooh and Boom's back is hurting from carrying this entire show. It was shocking to see some viewers say that they didn't think that Rome and Raffy should have ended up together. This all goes back to Raffy's character. He's a very misunderstood character that I picked up right off the bat. The many things I've noticed about his character was that he is perceived to many at the school as this rich, spoiled nepo baby. However, he has no problems playing into it. This also plays into his passive aggressive behavior. When he gets blamed for leaking the video of both Arnold and Dean, he doesn't even bother defending himself like any normal person would and let others blame him. Not to mention, he also is insecure and wants to desperately be loved, even if that means being infatuated with the wrong person. On the other hand, nobody knows this side of Raffy except for Rome. Rome has seen Raffy at his most vulnerable state, that Raffy actually takes the time to confront Rome when he says something that is not true. My issue with Rome and Raffy's relationship, with the way that most have analyzed it, is that Rome is not innocent. He has perpetuated a lot of Raffy's insecurities. For example, he teased Raffy at his mother's interview, saying that he likes to brag, as he told his mother that he got the leading role. However, Raffy told him directly, which he doesn't do, that she was the one that assumed that he got the leading role, but he never told her that he did. Sorry. He also went on to say that he knows that he would never make her proud, indicating that Raffy wants his mother's validation. Of course, this makes Rome uncomfortable because he has never seen this side of Raffy before, and the conflict with his mother, hence why he later gives him advice. When it comes to Raffy's infatuation with Jack, I think that he should have minded his business, because Raffy is the type of person where he has to hit rock bottom in order to see the truth, and that's exactly what happened. Not to mention, he should have took a different approach to trying to have Raffy see the truth in all of this, considering that he was aware of Raffy's insecurity. He knew that Raffy didn't have everything thought out, considering that he said in his confessional, he said that Raffy didn't know what he wanted. I'm also in no way, shape, or form saying that Raffy is a saint, because nobody in the show is. However, Rome could have done better with his approach. Also, Rome was justified for calling Raffy out, with him trying to hook up with Boston, who is Jack's friend, and for saying that he isn't worth him when Raffy rejected him. I would be lying if I said that scene didn't break me when Rome shedded a tear. Next is the plot holes. I will admit that this show was poorly written compared to season 1, even though I think the casting was better with Ooh and Boom eating up this season. As I said before, they could have done better with expanding on Toa and Arnold's relationship, and even Arnold's character, because he just felt there at times. Nothing was going on with him. Also, they could have done better with Rome and Raffy's relationship, because I still, for the love of goodness, do not understand why Raffy was so infatuated with Jack. Second, there were times where I had to make my own interpretation on what was going on because it just didn't make sense. I just felt like certain scenes should have been written differently. For example, when Raffy told Rome that he quit the play because he lost passion, when in reality he reflected on his argument with Rome and he chose him in the end, hence why he dropped the play. I would have even understand him saying that he dropped out due to loss of passion if Rome had not forgotten that Raffy was being pressured into acting to find validation by his mother. However, Rome's comment afterward doesn't support that, with him lecturing Raffy about his privilege. Also, Rome doesn't take into consideration Raffy's insecurities and wanting to appease his mother as a result of not knowing what he wants for Raffy, why Raffy never saw him as a love interest. Despite seeing him as a safe zone, someone that he finds comfort in, I also didn't like the conversation that Rome had in the basement when Raffy vows to pursue him in the end, because while Rome's feelings are valid, however, he did again play into Raffy's insecurities, hence why Raffy told him while breaking down that he can laugh at him. And lastly, and this is just a food for thought, I saw some saying that Dean and Raffy were the same people but on two different sides of the coin, and I disagree. I think that this applies more to Dean and Jack because both were manipulative and selfish. On the other hand, Dean's whole issue with Raffy was that he hated that Raffy was a nepo baby. He felt like Raffy was the reason why people who worked hard would not be successful. However, he was a hypocrite because he too benefited by nepotism, because he was dating Jack at one point, which is why he kept landing roles in Jack's plays, and all the students knew that he was going to get the lead role regardless. My thing was, unlike Raffy, who can't pick and choose who his parents are, however, there is no way that Dean is the only good actor who is talented or not in the entire school, to the point that Jack kept on giving him the lead role. There is a commenter that explained the feud between Dean and Raffy well, and I commend them for that, because this was the second series where I was like, did we all just watch the same show? Again, I'm not saying that Raffy is the same, but the way that he was treated was awful from everyone in the show, despite not even being a part of the same friend group and wanting to be seen. I also want to address the fact that Raffy had no intent on leaking the video, unless he just wanted to show Jack and that's it. And he explicitly said that to Rome. In the end, Dean got what he wanted. In the end, he got the lead role that he accused Raffy of trying to steal at the expense of his relationship with Jack, while Raffy gave up the role for Rome, and a role that he didn't even want due to his mother's meddling. He even meant his relationship with Rome in the end, while Dean got with Jack years later after graduation. Not to mention, Jack was the cause of all of this because he never stopped Dean's nasty behavior, considering that he was the director of the play. Again, this commenter explains everything to the T. In conclusions, this was a good show outside of the poor writing. I actually think that this was better than season 1 due to Rome and Raffy's relationship and Ooh and Boom's acting skills. Also, I love the conversation about nepotism and how complex it is because of how hypocritical Dean was and never realized. And before I forget, I love the fact that in the end, Raffy hit Dean with kindness and not really accepting his apology. I will rate the show a solid 4.5 out of 5. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and please subscribe and please hit that bell notification for more uploads from me.